Good morning, Columbus City Middle School students, and thank you so much for joining our career chat series. If you were lucky enough to get to join us in November, you got to see the college, career, and service, and it was super successful. We are also going to be today focusing on informational technology. So we welcome all of you who are here, and if you are not watching this live, we are so excited that you are watching this. And if you have any questions, have your school counselor reach out to me. So I'm going to turn things on over to Zed Digital. We have Sumitra who's going to be sharing with us today. So I'm going to turn it on over. And if you have any questions, so some housekeeping really quick. I'm sorry, Sumitra. At the bottom of your screen, you're going to see where it says Q&A down at the bottom. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, we'll either type them back to you or we will answer those live. So feel free to ask questions if it is something speaks to you that you want to know more about. So thank you. Without further ado, Ms. Sumitra.
Thank you very much, Brianna. Really excited to be here. John, thanks for inviting me to present today on Zed Digital and the kind of work we do. So I'm Sumitra Jagannath. I'm the president of Zed Digital. We are a technology company, mostly software and some hardware as well, electronics that we do as well. So we have been around since 1996 when I founded this company as fresh out of school, actually maybe a year and a half after I graduated from McGill University in Montreal in Canada. For those that haven't heard of it, do look it up. It's one of the top schools in the world, actually, in many disciplines. And so I was fortunate enough to graduate from there with a master's in computer science. I'm a software engineer by background. I have a BE in computer science as well. And technology has always been my passion since I was 11. My mom introduced me to computers back then in the 80s, was just starting to become a household word. We were seeing a lot of it in the newspapers. She would put out newspaper articles and show them to me and see, look at this new thing that's coming up called computers. And maybe this is something that may interest you to study. So that's how I got introduced. And then when I was about 14 or 15, she put a large part of her savings out to get me a computer. She actually bought me a personal computer and said, look, try to learn how to use this. And so I went and took programming classes and I loved it. I was hooked on it from day one. And the first computer game I wrote was over summer holidays when I was, I just finished middle school, I think, going into high school. It was kind of like the Minecraft that we have today, but it was a very rudimentary version of it. So in those days, the languages we used were like Pascal and Fortran, which we may not even hear of these days. But I have a few slides I'd like to share on my career path and our company and what we do for you. So do you all see my screen? I guess you would. So today is Zed Digital. We are creating smart environments where we want to enable environments that are cashless, touchless, and queueless. These environments can be any public place, like transit. We have been doing this in public transit for the last 3 years, creating a cashless and a contactless way of getting into the buses with the phone in your pocket. So you can just have your tickets purchased or validated directly just by stepping onto a bus without having to take your phone out of your backpack. So that is seamless computing, or ubiquitous computing, it's called today, where computers come to the aid of people without them even realizing that there is one. So that's the field that we are specializing in today, and we're applying it to public places for ticketing and for crowding, which is something that's timely right now given the pandemic and the needs it has created in terms of crowding and contactless experiences for people. So here are some of the major milestones that we had to pass in order to get here to this type of ubiquitous computing. Initially, I started this company. We developed search engines. At that time, search engines were just starting. Google and Yahoo were just a couple of years old back then. So we started building search engines to search the databases that underlie websites. It's called the invisible web. And if you're curious, look it up. It still is a real field in computing. And that's, since you're looking at career paths in this session, you may be interested in any of the software fields that we're talking about here. And then we went into e-commerce and web development, developing web portals, websites. So we did that for a while. And until we came into transit by chance, we bid on a project for Coda here in Columbus to redesign their website. With our website background and with our data aggregation background, we were selected to do that website project. So that brought us into public transit, which we learned a lot about. We built the trip planner for public transit, which is used on several transit websites today. And then we got into transit ticketing using Internet of Things, which is specifically, the hands-free or the, with the phone in your pocket experience I was talking about, where we develop these sensors that we install on the buses or in any public venue. And as soon as you have a smartphone app on your phone, and as soon as you enter the venue with your phone, the magic starts, and your phone automatically talks to these sensors. The app on your phone talks to these sensors and makes whatever is needed for your experience, contactless experience necessary, it makes it happen. For example, get you a ticket and let the usher know that you already purchased your ticket. So you don't have to stop and show them or scan your ticket. You can just walk by and the people at the venue know that, you already purchased your ticket. So this is also helpful in transit, where the driver need not have the extra burden of having to check every person's phone or having to take cash and count change back. So all that causes delays and queuing. So we did major deployments in Internet of Things based ticketing in transit for the last couple of years. And now we are into other markets as well, like museums and other public venues where this can be used for people to have a walk-in, walk-out experience while accessing these venues. So these are a few of our capabilities. We provide contactless ticketing and queuing and analytics. And if you look back in this screen, you can see a lot of different types of technologies that we've used, a search engine building, e-commerce, app development, Internet of Things, which includes electronics that talk to the software. So that now we branched out into electronics. So there's a lot of, different interesting technologies that we have explored over the years to keep up with the times of, what we're living, the reality of where we are. One of the fields in computing that's often overlooked is also, website and digital marketing, which we did well for several years. We still do that for some customers. So, we provide website strategy. We don't just build a website, but we take it several steps further and help them become a successful website. How do you take a basic website that is text-based and make it responsive and add marketing elements to it and provide digital marketing for that website to be seen and found by people? And how do they ultimately make it an authority site where people go to that website as a go-to site for information? So this is something that we specialize in too. And if you're looking for careers in computing or software, this is also a very growing market. Actually, it has been growing for the last 25 years that I know, and it's still growing, that you may want to consider. So I will now play a short video that explains some of the ubiquitous computing work that we're doing with the Internet of Things So that brings me to the end of the presentation. And if you have questions, please share them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sumitra from Zed Digital. I love that. I know that I've waited, everything that you shared, I've waited in the line way too long at Kroger that I wish that I could just grab my things and walk out the door. Thought that was pretty awesome. So I am going to turn it over to Cardinal Health, and representing Cardinal Health today, we have Javon Williams. So thank you so much, Sumitra. Javon, take it on over.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. So once again, my name is Javon Williams and I am an advisor. I'm an IT auditor at Cardinal Health. I actually just started there in September. I was with the state of Ohio, the Office of Budget and Management for the last 7 years. So, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna pull up my little slideshow.
Javon, while you're pulling that up, do you have a Beechcroft shirt on?
I do. I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. I do. I graduated from Beechcroft, as you can see. So like I said, I'm a certified information systems auditor. It's a globally recognized certification. So I have the capability of auditing all IT applications, systems, organizations, just everything IT. What is IT audit? So here I just took the standard definition of IT audit. It's responsible for analyzing and assessing a company's technological infrastructure, but I never say that because it's too difficult. I always say we just talk to people about IT stuff and we figure out what they're doing. Then we let them know what they're doing right versus what they're doing wrong. And then we come up with a game plan to help them fix any issues that they have. So that's what an IT auditor is. So my career path, I am a graduate of Beechcroft High School, go Cougars. I have a degree in accounting and forensic accounting. With those degrees, I actually started out in the financial internal auditing sector, but later on, I realized that IT audit, there's more opportunities as far as career growth. I am constantly learning, as well as you just make more money in IT. So that's why I kind of switched over to the IT side, and I'm loving it so far. So my next slide, I actually kind of want to talk about the top IT internal audit areas. So I just got this from Deloitte. Deloitte is one of our external auditors, but you can just Google like the top audit areas that we look at. Everything on this chart is an area that I have audited. The only area that I have not had experiences, I put a star next to it, is that cognitive automation and artificial intelligence. Everything else on this slide is an area that I have looked in. So cybersecurity, IT governance, risk, third-party management. We look at vendors, we look at data governance, disaster recovery, anything you can think of, I have looked at it. So I kind of wanted to give you guys a hypothetical scenario, and then I can walk you through how the audit process would go. So the scenario that I came up with is a system administrator at the Williams City School Data Center was fired from their position. They kept showing up late or sleeping on the job too. This particular system administrator is responsible for a cluster of servers that stores all the grades and attendance records within the school district. The system administrator was so angry and wanted payback, they decided to pay their old job a visit. So as an IT auditor, we would look at this process and see what this system administrator did. So even though the system administrator was fired and they no longer had their position, they still had access to the building. As an auditor, that is a red flag. So lack of physical security. They didn't have a security guard, the key card entry door or biometric scanner, and security turnstiles and video surveillance. Those are things that should be in place to deter access to a building so that the system administrator could not gain access. In addition to access to the building, they were also able to gain access to a server room. A server room hosts data. It can be sensitive. It hosts tons of data. So just imagine every grade that you've ever taken for any test and all your attendance records for like your whole tenure at school is just wiped clean. They also had access to the computer data. Their login credentials were still active, as well as they could gain access remotely if they wanted to. And then they were able to delete data. So in addition to deleting the data, as a system administrator, you have access to additional service accounts, and also you're allowed to perform multiple actions. So not only can you gain access, you're able to change records, and you can approve those records that you changed. So sorry, I clicked too fast. So this takes me back to the chart where I was showing you that the audits that I have performed. So based on that scenario, I covered several areas that this audit can fall under. The main area will be the information security, identity, and access management audit. But when we're looking at access management, it can fall under to any of these type of areas up here. So as an auditor, we would identify those problems, but then we will also provide recommendations. So I listed some of the recommendations that we would provide to this particular organization. So when an employee is off-boarded, fired, terminated, separated, whatever you want to call it, the first thing that an agency should do is they should deactivate the employee's key card, and also they should take away their username and password. So access to the building, if they would have had security guards, physical security, as far as like the turnstiles where they had the key card and they had to use their key card to swipe in, they would have been denied access. And then video surveillance would have showed that this person should not have been on the grounds. As well as access to the server room. Once again, if their key card was deactivated, they would not have had access to the server room. Access to the computer and data. If their username and password was deactivated, they wouldn't have access to the data. When they deleted the data, this is where a lot of our recommendations would come in. Their username and password should have been deactivated. Their remote access should have been deactivated as well. In addition, there should have been segregations of duties. No one person should have had that much power to go in to gain access to the computer, make the changes, and then approve those changes. So they should not have access to all of those service accounts. And if they did, those passwords to those service accounts should have been in a password vault. So that vault, it was cycle the passwords where they changed every 30 days. So then it would kind of reduce the risk of someone gaining access and deleting data. As well as they should have least privilege access roles. So they should be able to do the least amount of work like that, specifically for their job duties. In addition, there was no management approvals. In order to make changes like that, a manager or a supervisor should come in and then approve that change before it can take effect. As well as the system should have had some audit logging so that there could have been audit alerts. If you're deleting that much data, that should send a red flag to some type of audit logging system that you have, and it should have a record of that. But because they were a system administrator, they actually had access to those audit logs, and they were able to delete them. So another red flag was those audit logs should be read-only access. And then data storage and backup. All those audit logs should have been sent off-site so that the system administrator did not have access to delete the logs as well. So that is a typical audit that I would go through. And this report, I put it in bullet points, but when I say it would be about 10 to 15 pages long, I have to write so much stuff in it. So yeah, that's basically it as a certified information systems auditor. I put my email down here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me in the future. But yeah, that's what a certified information systems auditor would look at. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Javon. Question, where did you go to middle school?
I went to Monroe Middle School, go Eagles, and I went to Stewart Elementary School.
Awesome. Thanks. Just curious. Well, thank you so much for sharing. So I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Granger from Drive, Ohio. So thank you all so much. Again, remember, if you have any questions, use the Q&A box at the bottom and we'll be able to respond to you.
Wonderful, thank you, and good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. I'm Rich Granger. I'm with Drive, Ohio. We're an initiative of the Ohio Department of Transportation, and we're the state center for smart mobility. I'm going to explain what I mean when I say smart mobility, but first I'm going to show you a few examples. Let's check this out. Look, Ma, no hands. Pretty cool, huh? So that was at Springfield Airport near Dayton, just about an hour from Columbus. That was just a few weeks ago. That was a test flight of the Hexa aircraft from Lyft, one of about 7 different companies that were there for what I think was one of the coolest days in Ohio aviation and aerospace history. We had all these companies come together at Springfield Airport where they're all doing testing of these advanced air mobility aircraft. I'm going to talk a little more later about what all that means and what it is, but I got to tell you, this stuff is cool and it's exciting. And when you think about job opportunities in transportation, the sky really is the limit. Let's transition to an introduction, a broader introduction to Drive Ohio from my boss, the director of ODOT, Dr. Jack Marchbanks.
On behalf of Governor Mike DeWine and the Ohio Department of Transportation, which could be called the Ohio Department of Mobility, we're very excited to partner with the Ohio STEM Learning Network, with innovative teachers like you, and with your brilliant students to help reimagine the future of mobility across the state of Ohio. At Drive Ohio, we define smart mobility to include automated and connected vehicles and infrastructure deployed on the ground and in the air. Our statewide projects solve community challenges across 5 smart pillars: safety, mobility, access, reliability, and talent. When we talk about safety, we're talking about using new and emerging technology to reduce accidents and save lives. One example is our partnership with Honda to deploy connected vehicles along the US 33 Smart Mobility Corridor in Central Ohio. When we talk about mobility, we're talking about enabling new modes of transportation, some of which haven't been invented or fully imagined yet. One example is our partnership with the Air Force Research Lab on the Sky Vision project to develop low-altitude air traffic control drones in Southwest Ohio. Exciting stuff. When we talk about access, we're talking about removing barriers and improving access to healthcare, food, jobs, and education for our families, friends, and neighbors. One example is our partnership with the Eastgate Council of Governments in Northeast Ohio to deploy automated shuttles in downtown Youngstown. When we talk about reliability, we're talking about improving the flow of traffic on our roads and reducing trip times for everyone who uses our transportation system. One example is the new I-670 Smart Lane opening later this month in Columbus. When we talk about talent, we're talking about you and your students, training the next generation of our workforce for jobs that don't quite exist to solve problems that haven't fully been defined. At Drive Ohio and the Ohio Department of Mobility, we believe in the power of partnerships. We look forward to working with each of you during the upcoming school year, and we're excited to see how STEM drives Ohio into the future.
So there you go. That's what we do every day. And that's an overview of smart mobility. Now I'm gonna give a little bit of a deeper dive into this air mobility that I talked about. Fly Ohio is our initiative for that activity. And before I get into that future of mobility in the air, it's nice to go back to the past. So here's a quote from Garrett Morgan. Some of you may know who he is. I'll explain in a minute who he is. And I thought this was a great message. If you can be the best, why not try to be the best? So let's go back a little over 100 years. Broad and High Street in downtown Columbus, transportation looked a little different 100 years ago. You've got streetcars, those aren't as common these days. You've got horse and buggies, we don't see those anymore. You have pedestrians, and you start to see cars coming into the scene. And so this undated photo shows something that was becoming common as cars and horses and streetcars all started to mix together. How do we manage this? We need to innovate. Enter Garrett Morgan from Cleveland, a Northeast Ohio native who owns the patent on the 3-mode traffic signal shown in the center. That was the dominant traffic signal that he invented that until everything became more electrified, that was what people used really nationwide. And it started right here in Ohio. Continuing to talk about transportation innovation, some of you may recognize the Wright brothers aircraft. I've got a model here at home. So this was one of the world's first airports, Huffman Prairie Flying Field in Southwest Ohio. We're going to come back to that in a minute. They shared their airfield with livestock. So the first version of air traffic control was getting the cows out of the way so the airplanes could land. So we're past 2015. Anybody seen Back to the Future? Where's my flying car? Look at this, roads. We don't need roads. The flying car, this was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. So this predicted by 2015 we'd have flying cars. Do we have them yet? Well, not quite, but we're actually working on it. So these things called electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft kind of takes off like a helicopter, moves in different directions. It's all electric. Here's an example. Beta announced a partnership with UPS. It looks like a flying cargo truck, doesn't it? They're working on these. Well, Beta is developing technology right here in Ohio. Here's another headline. Kroger. Bree made the comment earlier of wanting to get in, get out of Kroger. What if you could have a drone deliver your groceries to you? Kroger is doing that in Centerville, Ohio. Centerville, Ohio, where's that? It's close to Dayton, not far from Columbus. So you're thinking, why is Kroger choosing to fly delivery drones? They're first in the country in Centerville, Ohio. Well, let's talk about the Air Force for a minute and their Agility Prime program that's investing in all these technologies. A lot of that investment is happening at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, shown right here, right outside of Dayton. Guess what sits on the grounds of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base? Huffman Prairie Flying Field, the same place that the Wright brothers launched their business 100 years ago. It's happening again. All that innovation is happening right here in Ohio. And you look close to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, there's Springfield Airport. Well, a couple of years ago, here's our governor launching the Sky Vision system that does air traffic control for drones and unmanned aircraft. How are we going to control these things in the airspace? This is the way that we do it. Because of that investment, companies like Telegrid showed up at Springfield Airport to test these package delivery drones. Telegrid and Drone Express, that's the company that partnered with Kroger. That's why they're doing the work in Centerville. So all this work we're doing here in Ohio is paying big dividends for the relaunch of air mobility in the 21st century. NASA, yes, that NASA, the big NASA that you've heard of, they're working with Fly Ohio, our team, on this multi-year project where we're testing out all these different aircraft in different cities. We're starting in Springfield, we're then connecting Dayton and Columbus, then we're going to connect Columbus with Cincinnati and Cleveland along the I-71 air corridor, and then we're going to connect down to Athens in Southeast Ohio. This is incredible stuff, and it's all happening just over the next few years. And that brings us all the way back to Springfield and that demonstration I mentioned a few weeks ago. All these companies are testing here in a one-of-a-kind facility, and there's all sorts of career opportunities to get involved. Here's some of the technology at Springfield. They've got a charging station, and that's an electric vehicle charging on the ground, but that same charging station can be used to charge an air vehicle. And there's what we call a vertiport, where it can take off and land. That's from Beta Technologies, that same company that partnered with UPS. Coming soon is a new facility at Springfield, and it's just going to keep getting bigger. So what are the opportunities for you? Well, here's Helen. She's one of my coworkers with the Fly Ohio team. She's a drone pilot at our Ohio UAS Center. She travels all around the state to do that kind of work. Here's Kenya. He's an intern that works with us in Drive Ohio doing outreach programs. I'm going to wrap up my comments by sharing a quick video with you, and you can hear from both Kenya and Helen talking about their experience. Let's let this video load up, and we will check out what they have to say.
My name's Helen McCreary. I work for the Ohio UAS Center. I am the UAS program analyst.
My name's Kenya Gray. I am a workforce and innovation intern at Drive Ohio. I'm also a fifth-year student at Ohio State University.
I think a lot of people start off thinking they're going to do one thing and then just sort of come into this industry in a weird way, because it's brand new, like especially drones, but like smart mobility in general. Everything is new. The industry is brand new.
When I first came to Ohio State, I was actually a civil engineer for the first 2.5-3 years of my collegiate career. So I actually started out as a bridge inspector with the RTA, which is like Cleveland's version of COTA here in Columbus. I wanted to switch it up a little bit, do something like more innovative. So when I came to Drive Ohio, I was like, this is the perfect opportunity.
I came into this job sort of a roundabout way. I was an archaeologist and I did my master's degree on archaeological prospection, which is sort of remote sensing. And I started using a drone for archaeology and really got into it. Then I came back and got a job at ODOT working for the UAS Center. Half of the UAS Center's job is to prepare Ohio for smart mobility, for drone taxis, drone delivery, medical delivery using drones.
So what me and my supervisor, Rich Granger, do is we go around different schools around the state pre-COVID, and we would basically have workshops where we would bring our Ozobots to them. It's pretty nice to do that, just to see kids and be interactive with them, because that's something that my education lacked, just to give those kids the opportunity to do something that I never had the opportunity to do, and that's pretty important to me.
We have all sorts of different drones. We have massive drones that we use to carry magnetometers around to look for abandoned wellheads. We have this drone, which we use, this is our bridge inspection drone. It's got really high-level obstacle avoidance systems. Everything that we can do with drones makes everyone's jobs easier and safer.
It's all about being creative and being innovative. I've started a couple projects at Drive Ohio, as well as the fact that I've been a part of a couple projects that I never thought would even be possible.
I guess if you wanted to get into this field, it would be great to start off by buying a little drone, flying it around, getting used to thinking about the world in that way, thinking about it from above. When you have a drone in the air and you look down and suddenly like, wow, everything looks different. I'm above it and I can see everything from a new perspective. It will change how we build roads.
You'll probably see more autonomous cars, whether it's just Amazon or taxis or Uber of some sort or Lyft. And I also predict that more people will be more willing to actually use these technologies, because a lot of people are actually afraid of it now. They think that, well, a car driving itself, there's no way it's gonna be better than me at driving, but the reality is it's a computer, it doesn't make as many mistakes as humans do. So that's where I think we'll be, just more autonomous vehicles on the road for sure, and people will be more comfortable with it.
Imagine not having to take a road to work. You go in the most direct way possible. Go to the nearest vertiport and you get in your drone and you fly from Canal Winchester to downtown Columbus. It is an incredible field for kids to get into. There are going to be a ton of jobs in the near future, tons of jobs in this sort of realm with using drones to complete tasks, to do survey, to do bridge inspection. There are already tons of jobs in it, and I think that's only going to grow.
There you have it. That's my story for today. Thanks for listening. We've got opportunities to get involved through ambassador programs, through design challenges, and you can always reach out to us and ask questions, and we'd be glad to beam into your classroom for a visit or an activity. Thanks for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Granger. I think that is a topic that students are really excited about. I think the right word is kind of maybe even intimidated. I mean, to see my packages get delivered to me and to not have to wait in line for 45 minutes at Kroger, my goodness. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we are going to wrap up with one of our own. Mr. David Smith from Columbus City Schools.
Hello, everybody. My name is David Smith, and I attend Columbus Downtown High School, and I'm enrolled in the technology field. So basically what we do here is there are like 3 programs. There's the technology applications one where we stay and build apps. This is the other technology field where we actually build computers here. So if you're interested in building computers, IT support is what it's called. We stay here and build computers. And then the third one is Adobe Workshop. So there you can share just how to figure out all the Adobe workshops and stuff. So my experience in technology has been really awesome, really, because I know that technology is constantly developing field, and it's always having new jobs. And in the future, it does pay well. So it pays well right now. So in the future, there are always going to be jobs in technology. So you never have to worry about anything else. But as technology it's always a developing field, so you're always going to have to develop new skills and stuff. So there's always going to be new things for you to be able to try. And my personal experience with technology started out with my interests, which I was watching Star Trek at a young age, and I was always wondering, how are they able to build these starships? How are they able to work these computers? How were the computers built, and how did they operate and stuff? So then from that point on, I developed my technology career. And then also in middle school, I did try out some technology. And then my first freshman year in high school, I did get a Microsoft Office specialist certificate. So these jobs pay extremely well, and also they're always developing stuff. So there's always something for you to be able to do. And these technology, since it's always developing, you can always meet new people, get new experiences, always learn how to do different things and develop new skills and stuff. So yeah, so it's almost 9:40. Almost. Sorry guys, I'm cut it a little bit short, but yeah.
That is totally fine. That's totally fine, David. I do have a couple of questions that I'm sure some of the middle schoolers will want to ask. Where did you go to middle school?
I went to middle school at Columbus Preparatory School for Boys. So
awesome.
We did have a computer lab there, and that's where my previous introduction in technology took place in.
Very awesome. Very awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do have, I know Indianola PE is standing strong, so I appreciate you all staying here. And those of you who are watching this not live, I want to thank you for being there. Indianola, do you have any questions? Because the floor is yours. We have a lot of informational technology. As I said, it is seriously this open door that is going to remain open for a very long time. I mean, we use our technology, it's at our fingertips every single day. So what if you could make a job out of that? So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you reach out to your school counselor. We will also share the resources of the people that spoke today. So feel free, if you want to ask any questions, feel free to do that. And if not, thank you so much to all of our speakers. Thank you, Zed Digital. Thank you, Cardinal Health. Thank you, Drive Ohio. And thank you to David from Columbus City Schools Downtown High School.